This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our friends over at the Home of Medicine Medical Marijuana Provisioning Center of Ann Arbor, Michigan, who we are proud to announce is headlining the sponsorship for our live Marijuana Today Las Vegas shows, which we're recording next week while we're in town for the big conference. The Home of Medicine is one of Michigan's new officially licensed provisioning centers and is a longtime supporter of our work here at MJ Today Media, so we're super excited to have them on board for Vegas. The Home of Medicine is located right in downtown Ann Arbor at their new ground floor location on South Main Street, and if you should find yourself lucky enough to be in town, make sure to pop in for a visit and tell them that I said hello. You can learn more about all the cool things that the Home of Medicine is up to by visiting them at homeofmedicine.org, which is spelled omofmedicine.org. That's homeofmedicine.org. Thanks again to everyone at the Home of Medicine for the support that makes today's news possible. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Monday, November 5th, 2018, and you're tuned in to episode 606 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Our top story leading off the week brings us out to New Mexico, where on Friday, a judge ruled that a limit the state had set on medical marijuana cultivators of 450 plants was imposed arbitrarily and thus was struck down. District Court Judge David Thompson said the state must return to the drawing board and come up with a new maximum plant count that adheres to state law governing their medical marijuana program. This story grabs today's top spot because of the very obvious effects the 450 plant count limit was having on New Mexico's marijuana industry, with the state reporting by a large amount the highest per pound price of wholesale legal marijuana in the country. That will change as more plants are able to be cultivated. No news as of yet as to whether the state will appeal the decision. Massachusetts Cannabis Commission Chair Stephen Hoffman said late last week that the Bay State could see the opening of its first legal adult use marijuana dispensaries within the next week or two. Massachusetts has been all over our headlines in recent weeks as the commission continues to grant adult use business licenses, but not yet the final sign-offs required for shops to open. Commission Chair Hoffman said, quote, "Frankly, we issue a certificate of commence operations. It's not our decision when the store opens, it's the licensee's decision. But we're going to have these certificates of commence operations done in the next week or two." Unquote. Rounding out today's top stories is Mr. Tom Angel over at Marijuana Moments, who has some follow-up news to last week's big story in Mexico, as that nation's Supreme Court made a pair of rulings in cannabis-related cases that had the effect of finding unconstitutional the laws making marijuana cultivation, possession, and use illegal. According to Tom's story, in the face of that finding, Mexican lawmakers are now moving to overturn marijuana prohibitionary laws. Things are made a little more dynamic in Mexico by the fact that the country will have a new president sworn into office next month, with President-elect Andrés Manuel López Obrador being a vocal proponent of more progressive drug and cannabis laws. Given that the United States neighbors to the north and south both legalized marijuana within the span of a couple of weeks of one another, this is probably a storyline you should have a solid handle on. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com and on our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out on headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, the Home of Medicine Medical Marijuana Provisioning Center of Ann Arbor, Michigan, also known as the top spot for our big Las Vegas adventures next week. We're rolling out strong to Sin City and we'll be recording shows all over the place. And the Home of Medicine will be there leading the sponsor parade. The Home of Medicine is one of Michigan's top medical marijuana shops and has a lot of patient customers who drive long distances past other provisioning centers to get their medicine from Home. That's because the Home of Medicine's owners, Mark and Keith, are straight up geniuses when it comes to the art and science of marijuana provisioning. You can get a slice of that genius at work by opening up their website over at homeofmedicine.org, but to get a full idea of the magic that goes on at Home, you really just need to swing by and visit. Find their address and learn all the things you need to know ahead of visiting by opening up, once again, homeofmedicine.org, which is spelled omofmedicine.org. Big thanks to everyone at Home for helping today's news happen. All right, time for the Blitz. A program in Canada in which news organizations send copies of newspapers to schools for kids to use in classes to teach media literacy is being cut because those newspapers now contain ads for legal marijuana businesses. The Newspapers in Education program ran afoul of laws legalizing adult use cannabis that ban any kind of advertising or marketing that could be seen by children. Schools will still be able to access digital copies of the newspapers, which are stripped of marijuana ads, but for now, at least, no more actual print. Bouncing up to my corner of the country here in Maine, we have an update to a story that ran in late summer as a young woman was stripped of her title as the Maine Lobster Festival sea goddess after images of her holding what appeared to be a joint popped up on the internet. Taylor Hamlin was officially dethroned as the popular festival's sea goddess just a day after being given the crown. Last week, the newly elected leaders of the festival officially apologized to Taylor and her family, which they said they appreciated. MMA fighter Conor McGregor just shared his thoughts on the quality of Mike Tyson's new commercial marijuana, which the Irish fighter is saying is, quote, really nice, unquote. McGregor posted a pretty cool photo of Tyson smoking along with text praising his new strain, KO Kush. McGregor then wished Tyson the best of luck in his business venture. Oregon Live is reporting that the number of registered medical marijuana patients in Oregon is dropping fast. In just a year, the number of patients in the state's medical marijuana program dropped from 59,137 to 34,892. The number of registered medical marijuana cultivators is also falling, dipping 40% from 23,175 last year to just under 14,000 today. Blame for the decline seems to fall on the program's design itself, which charges medical patients a $200 annual registration fee to stay current. With adult use shops found throughout the state, the motivation to keep a medical registration active has been greatly reduced. An assisted living center in Connecticut is reversing a ban it had imposed on its drivers, bringing its residents to medical marijuana dispensaries after the state's Department of Transportation confirmed that there was no danger of losing federal grants by doing so. Following that move, residents of the Calendar House are free again to visit local dispensaries without having to arrange transportation themselves. It's a good story for that one assisted living center and will hopefully act as an example for others to follow. Courts pulled together some good numbers, data, and charts to show that the legalization of marijuana is bad for the business interests of Mexican drug cartels, which rely on prohibition to keep profits high and sales flowing. Now that states like Colorado and California are removing illicit market opportunities by rolling out legal markets, the impact is being measurably felt by illicit cartels. Another good one to read in full. We end today's news with a good piece by Alan Brockstein over at New Cannabis Ventures, taking a deeper look into the world of biosynthesized cannabinoids, which are created with the application of some savvy gene manipulation in yeasts and bacteria. Biosynthesized cannabinoids hold a lot of potential in legal cannabis, especially if the technology is refined to create them on a large industrial scale at a cheaper cost compared to regular cannabinoids grown by the cannabis plant itself. This is absolutely an issue you need to have on your radar given its potential market disruptive effects. Open this one up. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, the Home of Medicine, and to all of our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the lesser ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Jake Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today. Today.
One take, Shay. One take.